Appreciate it. Happy Friday, the 7th of May. All right, so I have got an unbelievably long list of client wins and lessons to go through, but I think it's great. It's great for me to share everything that's happening around the country and also for you guys because it does improve your awareness. And that's something that I've been letting percolate in my mind over the last week or so, just going through the concept of awareness, becoming more aware of different ways of looking at the world. And funnily enough, Louise, you're telling me that just earlier this week, how if you change how you look at the world or how you see the world, and the world changes. So that's a very powerful thing that relates to improving awareness and staying open to new ways of seeing things. And then also just becoming aware of maybe where you can improve or where there's an inefficiency in the business or where you can tweak and refine and just continue along that path of constant and never-ending improvement. And I think sharing what you guys are doing with each other, it's like a collaborative brains trust, if you like, where you guys are, you're all on this path of leadership development, business development, team building, and it's great to be able to compare notes because you are the exception to the rule. And funnily enough, I was talking to someone today about how people still look at that 80%. They still look at what the majority of people are doing, even though they know the stats, right? 80% of people in business won't be in business 5 years from now. In building, it's 3 years. But they still look at that. They still look at the majority and go, but they are doing it this way. And these are highly intelligent people that tend to do that. It obviously defies logic that, we're not logical creatures. So it shouldn't be that surprising, right? That people do things like that. So, all right, let's get into the wins and lessons. And then I want to go through, if we've got time, I want to go through a couple of principles, first principles thinking around mindset, but also a code of conduct, because some of you are preparing GMs, general managers for your business as part of your succession. And it's really important that you have a strong team culture, but team culture is something that's come up in conversations with quite a few of you recently. So I like to talk about what's most relevant to the group and then go from there. But wins and lessons, update on what's happening. Regan and Nicole in Gladstone, Queenslanders have been making progress, man. Like a lot of you guys, just Regan and Nicole been really busy. So really struggling to find time to work on the business and try and get ahead of that curve. And they bit the bullet this last couple of weeks and they finally broken through. They're on the hunt for an apprentice. So they've grown their team. They've lined up a designer, and they also signed their first contract with a 25% margin. 25 margin. And so this is a great example of breaking out of a cycle and changing awareness around what's possible, because Nicole sent me an email saying that she thought for sure it was not going to happen, that it was going to be too expensive. But the client not only replied within hours and said, let's go, but they also wanted to add on extras as well. So guys, this margin thing, for those of you that are still new or still getting your heads around it, increasing your awareness around how success in business and making money is about adding value. And the more value you add, the less significant the margin comes, and your competitors as well. Right? So you want to be mindful. And once you've done it once, you can do it 1,000 times. So great breakthrough there for Regan and Nicole. Xavier and Zach presented their second landscaping proposal on Friday last week. So they've put together some really impressive proposals, stroke prelim agreements with the landscaping arm of their business. And I sent them a great example, a really, really good example from a landscape designer who's also a celebrity within what he does. If any of you are interested in that niche or doing something in the landscape, developing a landscape arm, let me know, because I've got a great example I can send you. The guy's got prelims, this guy that I'm talking about, of around 15 grand. So really impressive. Darren King up in Queensland, making significant progress. Darren's a unique individual, does a lot of leadership development and something else, which I'll get to in a sec. But Darren spoke to Charlotte at the Design Centre in Brisbane. He's also working with Amanda from Sea Salt, or has spoken to at least. I think he's going to start working with her. And he met with a company called the Concept and Design Centre. They've got a lot of work on in the 350 to 1 mil range, which suits Darren beautifully. So reaching out to designers and architects, which for those of you that need work, man, that is the number one marketing strategy. I don't have to tell you, right? And these guys told Darren that they had builders on their books. They do have builders on their books, but not enough. So they need more. Some of you, the thing that stops you from reaching out is you go, oh, well, that architect, he's already got builders. Surely he's got builders that he uses, or I've heard that he's already working with 3 other builders. And yes, that may be true, but they may need more, especially in this market, or they may not be 100% happy with all of the builders they're working with. So you've got to, get out of your own way, make the call, just do it. Now, what's the other thing? So listen to this. Darren was talking to me about social media, and he's going to be, I think, talking to Amanda about it as well, how to optimize his social media. Most of you are on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure how many of you are on Pinterest, but Pinterest is obviously relevant to the building industry because it's images, right? And you probably all heard of Pinterest and you probably used it. I certainly have, especially when you're shopping around for images. Darren got in on Pinterest early. He's got 242,000 followers on Pinterest. So, man, I'll tell you what, my brain lit up, my marketing brain lit up when I heard that. And I was just thinking, like, how can you optimize that? So keen to find out, Darren, when we talk next, about what Amanda's take on that was and how you can either optimize your reach, but also potentially monetize, because that is a significant amount. I mean, Instagram, 10,000 followers, you're an influencer. 242,000. I know Pinterest, it's not the same as Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. However, I did learn that Pinterest has more users than Twitter and Snapchat combined. So it has a lot of users. It's not like it's dying. It's still alive and well. Aaron Daly here in Sydney, talking to Amanda about marketing. They booked out for 12 months. So did you hear that, guys? Booked out for 12 months, speaking to Amanda about marketing. All right. Counterintuitive. Peak performers doing the exact opposite of the majority. Who would be speaking to a marketing person when you booked out for 12 months? The person that wants to set things up big time for the future. Also, prepping a guy for general management role as well. So I'm going to need to refine the culture, code of conduct. So I'll include the document that I'm going to go through with you guys later in the recording that I send out, so you can go through it, because there's a little bit in it that's a lot more complex than the basic keep, stop, start team meetings that you have, which you can use to develop a basic culture. But if you want to dive deep and also drill down into some specific issues, when I say issues, like team related challenges that you have with certain personalities, certain attitude problems. Once you resolve your financial issues, so those of you that are in that 7-figure club already, you'd know this to be true. Once you've got your systems set up and running like a well-oiled machine, and you've got the cash flow strong and the margins, and you're in the blue ocean, consistent quality leads and work, your team challenges become the ongoing thing, because people are complex, right? But if you can get that right, you can get the right dream team together, man, that's when you really start cooking with gas, go to the next level. By the way, guys, please type in if there's anything you want to share while I'm talking away. Victor Moldovan here in Sydney, fantastic niche. I've been talking about Victor's niche. He's getting so close to launch. I'm going to reveal his niche. I haven't spoken about it yet because he was still putting the final touches on, but he's doing granny flats, and his exact niche wording is Sydney's granny flat professionals. I think it's great. Sydney's granny flat professionals. I think I mentioned last time he's aligned with a great designer, and Danielle and Michael down the coast are also looking at granny flats. I want to put them in touch. So guys, as you listen to me going through explaining what people are doing, pay attention to anyone who's on a parallel path to you, because there's a great opportunity for you guys to collaborate. In fact, I was just going through my notes earlier and realized there's a lot of that going on, people collaborating. So what I mean by that is, it could be a builder that I'm working with in your area. So there's two of you and you both you're in the same niche. Now, instead of looking at that scenario as, oh my God, there's a competitor here, it's more like someone that you can collaborate with, where the two of you could get together and completely dominate your space. There'd be no doubt, it doesn't matter where you are in the country, there's not going to be a scarcity. There's not going to be a situation where two builders would be able to do all the work in one area, all the custom home builds, all the renovations, or whatever it is. The two of you together, though, could get the cream. You could bounce off each other to help with workflow, and you don't want to use the term price fixing, but you both know you're going to be pricing the jobs fairly, and you can really help each other. I mean, the Breakfast Club is a great example of that, right? Guys getting together, comparing notes, sharing. I know Tim and Victoria, Tim and Tori and Jack Brown were getting together. They started on the program together on the Gold Coast. They comparing notes as well. But if you've got a niche, I mean, Victor, Danielle, and Michael, they're in completely different areas. So they're really not going to be competing anyway, because Danielle and Michael are outside of Sydney, down the South Coast. So that's a great potential collaboration where you could share documents, pricing, whatever, designs. Vadim here in Sydney, Vadim's been pushing hard, right? Really, like in terms of implementation, the guy's right up there. Met with New Quality Architect last week. These guys are loving Buildertrend, so making really good use of Buildertrend and looking at going up to the next package. So there's obviously different packages. Buildertrend, he's going up a notch. Scott and Tanya down in Vic, get caught up with their accountant, and this is what I talk about when I do one-day training workshops for the HIA or the MBA. I talk about often early on in the day about financials, having good financial controls, and how for most people, just the thought of cash flow and profit creates headaches, or if not headaches, anxiety. Whereas, for you guys, when you go see your accountant, it's usually a very positive, exciting experience, as it should be. So record multi-six-figure profit coming in for Scott and Tanya, and we all know it's only going to get better. So it's fantastic. And Scott's also been talking to people. He's had that mindset shift around them being a specialist, not a general practitioner. So really helping people understand that they are specialists in what they do. And if you deal with a specialist, there's obviously it's a different experience. Like with any specialist, you're going to get a better quality product. Well, you're going to get more value from a specialist. You're going to get specialist advice, a specialist result, and a specialist invoice as well, right? You don't have to say that, but that's sort of implied. People get that. Johnny down in Melbourne. This is interesting. So this is this is something different. I spoke about Johnny last time as it related to the floor plan company that he was joint venturing with and the leads he got from them, but he got another stack of quality leads from a different source, and it reminds me of a builder on the Gold Coast, Michael Cunningham Constructions, who had a major breakthrough with a development that he did, and then a real estate agent who did the video for his development, and the video was the most viewed video in Australia the week that they sold the property, and it was sold above reserve before the auction. And then Michael did a flyer drop around that, and then just leveraged off it and started doing more videos, and now he's out there crushing it, right? So Gianni had a client who he did a job for a couple of years ago now, right? And they sold the property. The real estate agent put amazing photos up of the job. Now it sold for a significant amount of money. I'm not sure if it was a suburb record, but it did really well. The lady did really well. But in the marketing, they pointed to the dream team. It was dream team, dream team, dream team. And half a dozen people wanted to know who the builder was. So Johnny got these leads off the back of the sale of the property, which was, again, a job he did a couple of years ago. And it was a really small 300 square meter block, but apparently an amazing outcome and a great marketing opportunity for him. So, guys, that's how you could potentially, looking at both those examples, right? How you could, the Michael Cunningham and Gianni, how you could potentially network with real estate agents. So you're familiar with designers and architects and how to approach them and collaborate and interview them and get them on board. But real estate agents, they sales animals. So there's a huge opportunity there with the right agents as well. So Michael and Danielle down the South Coast, revenue projections, cash flow forecast looking strong. They're busy looking for commercial space, struggling to find commercial space at the moment. Some of you, there's a couple of more of you also looking for space and finding it quite tough. They've got a guy in Sydney who wants to do multi-unit development, so they've got opportunities coming at them from all angles, and I think it's par for the course for most of you guys at the moment. So your biggest challenge is what you say yes to and saying no to the majority of what comes at you. And Michael and Danielle, again, want to speak to Victor. There's a collaboration opportunity there. Mark Osborne here in Sydney as well. Got 2 decent leads from LinkedIn. So some of you guys are looking to employ people. Mark's doing that, looking for a salesperson, and jumped on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's got a premium version that you pay, I think $179 a year for. It's called, it's called Sales Navigator. I found out about it when I was in Scotland with Dan Pena. A lot of the guys that put their boards together use LinkedIn. So when you go to the premium package on LinkedIn, it allows you to contact people direct. Well, firstly, you can search in certain geographical areas. So those of you that might be looking for a general manager, you can literally search all the general managers for other building companies in your area, and then you can message them without having to connect with them first. Because LinkedIn's like Facebook for business, and normally you have to friend someone or connect with them before you can then start interacting. But if you're on the Sales Navigator premium version, you can just pick someone, send them a message. You could have a template around, hey, just checking in. We have an opening in our business. If you're happy where you are, that's totally okay. But if you're looking for an opportunity and you're thinking about moving prior to me even sending you this message, we'd love to chat, something along those lines. And you can get someone else to do that for you as well. So had that conversation with Mark, and they got some decent leads. So keen to hear how that went. He's also got a bookkeeper. In fact, I'm probably going to get Mark on the call because on one of these gold program calls to talk about some of the opportunities that he's uncovered. His bookkeeper can help get $250,000 in government grants. And there's also something else I can't remember off the top of my head that I'm going to bring him on for to have a conversation about. Luke Belgu down in Melbourne, work's coming up. Like a lot of you guys, Tsunami is on the way. So he's getting his contract and documentation prepared for the guys on site, and has also completed job descriptions for everyone, run through KPIs with his team as well, which is just giving people clarity and focus, right? And something else that Luke implemented, which I think is fantastic, he's getting his team to write down 5 things that they must do every morning, right? 5 things that they must do every morning. He's getting them to write them down. He's also got his supervisor stepping into a more senior role. So things are happening, moving in the right direction, and volume of work, I believe, is at a PB. Ante up in Brisbane. Ante is the guy I told you about that went and saw the architect that had a $2.4 million job that once it was priced was actually 5.5. And the people still went ahead. Unbelievable. He's been getting around the BuildXact software, which a lot of you are using, especially for pricing up jobs. So he's loving it from that perspective, and also he's found it to be great for handling variations as well. They're very useful from that perspective. And also doing his materials ordering through BuildXact as well. So again, guys, collaboration. You BuildXact users bounce off each other. If it's not, contacting people on the Facebook group, personal message, get someone's number, have a chat. If there's someone out there who can help. So the number one resource on the coaching program is myself. And then the second most powerful resource is the network, right? The closed Facebook group, and you guys collaborating. Nathan and Peter up in Bundaberg spoke about their opportunity with Passive House and the collaboration with Jesse down in Melbourne. He's the Passive House specialist down there. Nathan's booked in to do the course. Most of you would know there's a Passive House course. He'd be the first person in his area to do it. Man, that's a great feather in your cap. If you do the course first, then you first in. No one can ever take that away from you. And there is a lot to be said for being first in, best dressed from a marketing perspective. Also, what else are they doing? Put a submission in for an MBA award, which if you've got a job that's up there and worthwhile submitting, make sure you do it. Also, new apprentice started on Monday as well. So Nathan Peter got some real momentum. Things are happening. Boris and Nancy down in Melbourne. 3 projects on the go at the moment. They do some beautiful work, real high quality custom homes and award-winning stuff. And they've got 2 about to start. And again, another collaboration with Pascon. Most of you would be familiar with George Passis from Pascon Group. He's given them some carpenters. And something else that Boris and Nancy do is ongoing leadership development themselves. So they've done a lot of work with the late Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you guys have heard of Wayne Dyer, bit of a spiritual guru. But I encourage you guys to do the same thing. Go and seek out guys that can help with your own personal and professional development, leadership development. Chris and Catherine, Rick here in Sydney, they've got a fantastic opportunity in front of them now with the way they're structured and the platform they've created to really scale their business and put themselves in a position where they can really quantify the gains because they've got good financial controls and a strong team as well. So they're able to scale and get real-time feedback from their financial controls and knowing that they've got the right team in place. They also booked out for next financial year as well. Staying in Sydney, Adam and Gina restructuring their team, tried using a recruiter. I know a lot of you guys, or not a lot, some of you have thrown money at recruitment agencies and doesn't always work out. I would look at our recruitment process, and then I know it's tough at the moment. If there's no one out there, there's no one out there, but also that LinkedIn opportunity. Look at that. And then if you absolutely have to, go to the recruiters, but they're going to do the same thing, most of them anyway. And then Ben Garraway. So Ben, inspiring, man. Just the mindset shift, the awareness shift that Ben had the last time I ran through the gold program called just looking for the highest to the lowest instead of from the lowest to the highest on realestate.com and finding that opportunity. He's been working on his vision and mission, just going big picture. And I know that there's a lot of you that have done that now. Now's a good time to just review or revisit your 5-year plan. Just go big picture, end game, what's the exit? And it can change. Things can change, so you can do that. But Ben was doing that, and he's realized, as I mentioned on the last gold program call, that he can have a positive effect on both the growth and the impact on the region with what he's doing. And he wants to create a company that's large enough to involve his 3 girls. He's got 3 daughters. That's something that I'm doing as well. It's building a family business that is going to be there to serve as a platform for my kids when they get older and they come out of uni. They've all got to go to uni. And whether they want to look at a spreadsheet or get involved in sales or be creative with design, there's an opportunity for them to get into the family business if they so choose. That it's there for the taking. They want to come in, and if it aligns with their purpose and passion, great. If not, that's okay. It's not a problem. But it's great to have something, especially if your kids see that there's purpose, passion, you enjoy what you're doing, you're making money, it's giving you options, it's an adventure, it's an exciting adventure, then they're more likely to want to step in, as opposed to the vast majority of kids. They look at their parents in business and they go, never in a million years am I going there. So I think that's a fantastic thing. And the positive spin-off for Ben is obviously motivation goes through the roof when you've got that passion and purpose. And I saw that with Carl and Felicity as well up in Cairns. Came on a coaching call yesterday or the day before and just beaming. I was like, hey, what the hell's going on? And they just finished their 5-year plan, 10-year, I believe 10-year or 5-year, 2-year, 12-month, 90-day plan, next fortnight, next week, daily to-do list done, all aligned and just on fire with passion. Andrew Priestley getting financial control set up and he's getting a new vehicle. He only got it yesterday. New signage for jobs. Following up with Amanda Cordner. And he took on a guy. He found a real peak performer who. So this is someone that he can bring on potentially as a partner down the track. But this guy does ultra marathons, right? So he's a peak performer in other areas outside of work. He's got his own builder's license. He's also very techy as well, which helps, especially with using something like Buildertrend. He's all over it, and Andrew's looking at like a 5-year plan to bring him on potentially as a partner. So it's a great opportunity for those of you that don't have family members that you'd want to bring into the business or for succession. If you can find someone like that, it works really well. Darren over in New Zealand's done that successfully, absolutely crushing it. Darren's book's about to come out. We co-authoring a book. He's the first Kiwi to do that, so that's exciting. And he's absolutely crushing it in terms of the quality work, that's leads that are coming through, the work that's coming through, his relationships with the right architects, his ability to leverage himself, or his time through his people and his systems. So Darren's in a whole different league to what he was 6 months ago even. Tom Rubuck up in Queensland. He's done an amazing job for himself up on the Sunshine Coast, one of his own projects that's on the market at the moment, and the photos are on his website. They're really impressive. He met with an architect who's got plenty of work and a good pipeline, and they're looking for another builder on their team. And Tom had the conversation about charging for quotes. So when you're speaking to a quality architect for the first time and you need work, Tom has jobs about to drop, but he does need something decent. And he had the courage to have that conversation. I know for a lot of you, it's a bit of a sweaty palms moment talking to an architect about work they're going to give you and then you charging them or their client to do a cost analysis. But this guy was agreeable. He was like, yeah, that's fine. He's also about to put his banners up, hopefully up already. And collaborating with Andrew Kerr. I spoke to Andrew yesterday, got Tom to talk. They in a similar niche. But again, they can bounce off each other and give overflow of inquiry to each other as well. Oh, we're tracking for time. Oh, doing okay. Dean Adams down in Vic. He was talking about Kevin Rennick at the Hampton Homes Australia launch spoke about writing down every mistake the team makes. So Kevin's obviously a very process-driven guy, being the founder of Hotondo Homes. And he said the way he got his process and systems to a point where it was watertight was writing down every mistake the team made and then making sure that mistake never happened again. And that's something that Claude Sievers does as well. He can attest to that same process. You guys that use hindsight diaries is a similar concept. So Dean's got a bit of a second wind. He's got 7 jobs on at the moment, so it's firing on all cylinders. Pipeline's moving in the right direction. Focus is heavily on design and construct, putting him in control. So he just keeps going from strength to strength and keeps ratcheting it up. And I said that to a young bloke I started with today, Michael, that it's a constant process of improvement and value add. And if you go down that path and get into that groove, next thing you know, you'll wake up and you'll be in that blue ocean situation. Tim Waring up in Toowoomba, margins up 50% compared to previous years. All right, listen to that, guys. Margins. So this is gross margin up 50% compared to previous years. And these guys are doing, in excess of 10 mil turnover. So that is significant gains. They're really enjoying where he's at, in a really good place. Dean and Will, ACT. This is a great story, man. Their lead carpenter, right? Now, some of you have had this happen where you've got quality team members wanting to move or leave. And then instead of just sitting there going, okay, well, now we've got to just deal with that void and find a replacement, they were like, no, let's see if we can do something about this. Okay, why does this guy want to leave? What's the deal? The carpenter, obviously, because there's a lot of work on, decided he wanted to go into contracting and go make some more money. The thing for Dean and Will is that this guy's really good. So they're big shoes to fill and he's going to be hard to replace. So they offered him $100,000 salary, plus they aligned his goals with theirs. All right. So what they established is that this guy wants to build his own house. He's got a young family, I believe, and he wants to build a house. So they're giving him a 100K salary plus they're going to let him build his own house on their license. All right. So, and the guy's committed to at least to the next 12 months. But if he's going to build his house, it's probably going to take longer. So he's not going to be going anywhere. But I thought that was brilliant because they've aligned his goals with theirs. They took the time to uncover what it is that this guy wanted, what was important to him and his family, and then showed him a path that made perfect sense. And they got to keep him. Plus, he's going to train guys. So part of the agreement of him staying on, he's going to train the younger carpenters on the team, so that they've got those guys. If and when he eventually leaves, the other guys are trained up, and they've had a huge change in attitude with their team, which is fantastic. So everything's pointing in the right direction, big time. Peter Nguyen, new young bloke here in Sydney, fired up, getting a lot done. This guy's going to be very successful. Reminds me of myself when I was younger. We got a lot in common. So Peter, looking forward to hearing about the goals you're going to be kicking. Great things to come. Katie and Adam down in Vic, 3 jobs right now, decent margins. Speaking to architects about charging for quotes as well. So getting out of that comfort zone, having those conversations, and there's those critical distinctions, the charging for quotes, getting architects on board with the cost analysis, getting the sales process down, bang, that alone turns your business on its head. Tim and Tori up on the Gold Coast, collaborating with Jack, the landscape guy, landscape builder. And they're now, so Tim and Tori are going gangbusters. They just, taking the program by the horns, and they implementation kings. They're connected with one of the best designers on the Gold Coast. They've got a handle on their financials. They invested in Biz Video, making decisions like that. Those of you that have invested in Biz Video or Glue content, it doesn't come cheap. However, I think every single one of you can attest to, 6 or 12 months later, looking back and going, best thing we could have done. The quality of the video productions that those guys put out, marketing is all about perception. Perception's reality. People's perception of you is the reality, is their reality. So if you've got amazing video content that not only showcases your best work, but also educates people, it goes a long way, and you can dine out on that for a long time. Someone was telling me the other day that 40 or 50 grand they shelled out over 12 months. It didn't take long for them to sign a contract that paid for the whole thing, paid for multiple years. I think it was Andrew Kerr was telling me about that. Glenn and Jane, another collaboration story. Got down on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, got them to get in touch with Kyle and Jeremy. I don't know if they've already done that. Again, to talk about dealing with overflow. Glenn and Jane have got work about to drop big time. They're also working on Teams. I don't know if any of you guys are using Teams, Microsoft Teams, I think it is, the software program. Lucas and Louise down the South Coast, so inspiring to chat to these guys this week. They're busy working on asset protection. Those of you that haven't got asset protection in place, you need to make sure you get that done. It's like, obviously you've got to have your insurances, but you want to protect or close that back door, because there's no use getting into the 7-figure club only to have someone take it all off you. So Lucas and Louise have sat down and done some research. They've done some serious due diligence on what the options are to get solid asset protection in place. And also bought the Resilience Project book, looking at continuing to build themselves from a leadership development perspective, and solid 90-day plan. So I've got a 90-day plan in place and sticking to it on a weekly basis. Felicity and Kyle up in Cairns. Hey guys, I want you all to pay attention now and do this, please. What Felicity and Kyle do really, really well, and I haven't really driven this home with you guys, but I want to do it now, is to please, in between coaching calls, like we have sessions every 2 weeks, to capture your questions, ideally on your phone. When you're on the run, I don't know, if you've got an iPhone, there's a thing called Notes. You can just capture in your notes some questions, right? And then send me those questions the day before the coaching call or during the coaching call to run through them. And that's something Felicity and Cole have done really, really well. And as I mentioned before, they're really motivated on the last call after talking about, after doing their 10-year or 5-year plans, looking at the big picture basically, and then reverse engineering it back. Jack Brown, Gold Coast, brochure's almost ready. Yeah, man, I can check. We've got like 20 minutes left. Like I said, there was a lot to get through, man, a lot to get through. Brochure's almost done, getting postcards done as well, signing the prelim agreement today, I believe, or yesterday. Hopefully that went ahead. So listen to this, guys. Jack's another example of someone who's done great quality video with Biz Video. So he's got amazing videos. It's on his website. And the guy that called him from Sovereign Islands, so those of you that don't know Sovereign Island on the Gold Coast, that's where these $20 million homes. It's a real, deca millionaires paradise. So if you start getting a job in there, obviously there's potential to do more and more. The guy that called him saw his youth signage. From his youth signage went to his website, and Jack's website looks amazing. And he's, bang, he's in. Now he can market around that area. He can hopefully get some referrals as well. And it's a job that could potentially is going to lead to other work as well with the same guy. So what he's going to do with that job as well is use the services of a really good designer in the area who he can then establish a relationship and also get more work. So great marketing opportunity. But the key thing here is he's driving people from offline marketing, the youth signage, to his online marketing, which is his website. So those of you that do have quality video content like Biz Video Glue, make sure people get to see it. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do with Jack is send out some flyers, but also some postcards. And you can send out 5,000 flyers or more, 10,000 for under $500 these days. I mean, even if 1.2% or 2% of the people go to your website, and if you've got an opt-in on your website, you're going to build your database. So great opportunity. Sonia and Mark got the Resilience Project book as well. So those of you that haven't got the Resilience Project book, please get it. I had a webinar yesterday. I'm shoving it down everyone's throat just because it's crucial that you have some sort of structure or process for building resilience. And it's the best one I've come across so far. And Sonia's booked in, or she's got tickets for later in the year to actually go to one of the live events. So if you can do that, make sure you do. Also, something that Sonia mentioned that's interesting and potentially relevant to you, Don Doolan, the bookkeeper, has a guy who can help implement Buildertrend. And I believe it's Pat Williamson, who is an ex-client of mine. So that's a great opportunity, guys. And I think he only charges like $1,000 a day or something. I mean, it could be different, but I believe it's around that $900. Pat's amazing. And he's a client who I've worked with. He's a great builder, luxury home builder who also uses Buildertrend himself. So you'll be learning from someone who actually takes his own medicine, so to speak. And Sonia and Mark have got just opportunities coming left, right, and centre. They've got amazing projects that are coming through from a resi perspective, but also 2 major commercial jobs that are going to be fantastic coming through the pipeline. Jared Lindorf, we had an interesting conversation about a thing called the ugly stick, which is, really with any relationship that you have, right? Whether it's personal, your significant other, or with your team, the way to have deeper, more meaningful connections is to have the difficult conversations. Like if it's things that are bothering you, it's no use sweeping them under the carpet because, look, you can, but what it means is down the track, it's just going to come out. And when it does come out, it's going to be a lot uglier. So ideally, you want to be flushing out the ugly stick conversations as much as possible so that everything stays on an even keel and you don't have explosive emotional outbursts because things are bottling up like a pressure cooker. So that's something that Jared's doing. And funnily enough, just had a conversation with Marty as well about exactly that. He's leaning in. So part of leadership development is being able to lean in to the pressure situations. So when there's an uncomfortable situation where you need to deal with a strong personality on your team who's maybe pulling away from the culture or outside of the framework that you've set, and you have to have that, by the way. If you don't have a culture and there's no fence that you put up or a framework for behavior and performance, then the strongest personalities are going to dominate. So really having that there, having the, at a very basic level, the keep, stop, start, it's the stop question, what needs to stop, and allowing people to flush things out. But if they don't bring it up themselves, you need to bring it up. You need to lean in. and stay in those uncomfortable conversations and situations and deal with it. Andrew Kerr, 2 months of solid starts in front of him. His job program is going really great, so making sure that he's all over getting the staying proactive, and needs a process. If anyone has a solid process for taking holding deposits, if you could please share, send it through to me and I'll pass it on to Andrew. I know Daniel Klinger had a process for taking holding deposits. So just let me know. Jeremy and Christian up in Vegas. Office fit out's going to be ready in about 2 weeks. Big changes. These guys are cranking things up and just on an absolute tear. They've got an in-house designer starting in 2 weeks as well. And Christian was telling me about a business psychologist that they use, that they're going to get to come in and talk to the team as well. And the office they're renting's got a boxing ring. It's actually owned apparently by an ex-Wallaby, and the guys go in there and box. So that's something that they're going to introduce to their team. They can have a bit of fun with it. Guys can stay healthy, maybe develop a bit of a fight club scenario, which could go wrong, I suppose, but it could also could be a lot of fun. Ben, Aaron, and Shay here in Sydney, they're busy setting up a Gantt chart for prelim. So most of you have seen that Gantt chart for the preliminary process, pre-construction, busy setting that up and getting the best client liaison person on the job to communicate and ensure things keep pegging forward to all the different steps, and also a solid 5-year plan as well. Checking the time. Yeah, I'm almost finished these. I want to jump onto the culture, but spoke to Marty today. So Marty Stafford, and Marty's, so listen to this, right? He's had 4 guys on his team that he's needed to move on, asked to leave since Christmas. Right? So that's Marty facing in, being crystal clear on where the business is going, on the type of performance, on the type of attitude that he will and won't tolerate. And then when he's seen guys, stepping outside of that framework, addressing it with them. And he's done it in a very professional way. He hasn't lost his cool, snapped it. He's just gone in, faced in, leaned in, and some of the guys have been a bit cranky. What he's told me, without giving you too much of the details, there's guys that have got a bit narky with him, to say the least. But he's handled it really, really well, and he's demonstrated to the rest of the team, what he expects from everyone on the team. And that culture is really, really powerful, because not only does it lend itself to peak performance, and there's X factor, right? You get the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. That's something that comes out of that's born out of having a strong culture. But you also get yourself into a position where it becomes a recruitment thing, where people are drawn to your company because of the culture. And I've had this conversation with a few of you already, where a good example is Virgin, the Virgin brand. People want to work for Virgin, even though they pay less than their competitors, because of the brand, because it's a fun place to work. They've got a great culture. Our client down in Adelaide that I was working with, we're a builder, custom home builder that works on acreage properties. They have people wanting to work with them because of their culture, because in the community, people know that it's a great culture and a great place to work. So they have people lining up. So hugely beneficial. All right. So I'm going to go through the process for developing a culture, or a strong code of conduct, right? And I'll also send out the document for establishing a code of conduct, as well as how to enforce it, because setting it up is one thing. And I'll tell you straight up, full disclosure, it's not the most comfortable process in the world, because you need to look at the things that are not great with your team at the moment. And they need to be addressed head on. You've got to face in. You've got to bring them up. Everyone's got to look at them. And when you do that, what will inevitably happen is, if you've got, depending on the size of your team, there'll be a percentage of people that won't like it. They're just not going to like it. And in fact, it's part of the process that some people may initially, like with all change, most of us find change difficult, right? Initially, it's uncomfortable, but you've got to be the driver of change as the leader of the business. So too many people sweep this sort of thing under the carpet. Marty's a great example. He's not doing that. And he's also collaborating with Kane Harrison, as well. So the collaboration is going nuts, guys. Make sure that you do that. If there's anyone who I've spoken about who you can strongly relate to and you'd like to talk to, but maybe you're not sure how to connect, just ask me. I can send you their details. With all the people that are collaborating now, I always send a voice memo just to make sure that they're comfortable to talk to someone else. But guys, there's great relationships that have been born out of the Builders Coach community. I have you guys telling me all the time, hey, Kurt, it's amazing what you're doing. You know, there's so many great relationships that come out of the Builders Coach group. And some of you guys, you live in different states, you know, and your families even hang out together on holiday, that sort of thing. So make sure you reach out. Hampton Homes, quick update. The launch was on the 16th of April. The videos have finally come through. I'm just getting them put on a landing page. If you guys want a copy of the recording we've got the whole day, the entire day. There's 10 different presentations from the opening all the way through to the close. So those of you, I know there were some of you that are interested in finding out more, send me an email, shoot me a text, and I'll get the video recording across to you, right? What else did I want to say on that? Yeah, Dream Team. The Hampton Homes thing is a great example of Dream Team. So you'll get to see our handpicked Dream Team in action. And you can potentially collaborate with some of them as well. Jared, I'm going to get it over to you, mate. We spoke yesterday, and so you're the number one guy on my list to shoot the videos over to. So it should be this afternoon. I'm just waiting for Bhuvnesh, my guy over in India, to get it up on the landing page. So I've made a note here. All right, so success mindset. We might go a little over time, so if you guys can't stay on the call, I totally understand. I want to go through just success mindset principles, just some things I've been thinking about over the past week or two since we had the last goal program call. And it ties in with the pressure release scenario, right? And the reality around, and this relates to the ugly stick concept that Jared was talking about and what Marty's doing, leaning into pressure. The Navy SEAL analogy where they run towards the gunfire. Most people are spending their life looking for a release. They want to get away from the pressure, away from the uncomfortable moments in life. The young, what generation do we have now? Generation Z or whatever. A lot of them, society has set things up so that they avoid discomfort. They don't want to have uncomfortable social interactions. They don't want to come last in a sports activity. Everyone gets a participation award. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that's really unhealthy, man, because the only way you're going to build resilience and strengthen up is to lean in to little discomforts. You don't want to have an unhealthy amount of pressure because you don't want to put yourself in a situation that is toxic and then think that that's going to help you build resilience, because that doesn't work. But there is healthy pressure that you want to stay in, and whether you like it or not, we are all going to be under a certain amount of pressure for the rest of our lives. It's not going to go away. We're never going to be in this place where, everything's just nice and easy and there's a total release. So if you know that, and if you also understand and appreciate that healthy pressure builds resilience and is a leadership development process, if you like, it's part of the leadership development process, then you can lean into the discomfort, embrace it, and even feel gratitude. Put that in your resilience journal as something that you feel grateful for, is that you're able to deal with something difficult, learn from it, move forward, build character, demonstrate to your team and your kids and whoever else that you know how to deal with those sorts of situations. So my question for you is, if we're always under pressure, whether we like it or not, are you working with the pressures that you're experiencing around you? Are you working with them, or are you being directed by them? So what Marty's doing is he's working with the pressure. So he's experiencing pressure from certain people and he's looking at it. He's objectively going, okay, what's going on here? What's happening? What this guy's telling me is not in line with where we headed. He's pulling in a different direction, and he's making sure that he's getting an objective view and then acting on it and looking at a plan for either this guy's going to have to course correct, change his attitude, and get in line with our values and our culture and our code of conduct, or you're going to have to politely move him on. And if he's kicking and screaming, well, we're just going to, we're going to cut it. So that's a great example of leaning in and working with the pressure to get a positive outcome. Because right now he's got Dream Team. Now that those 4 people have moved on, things are looking really, really good. Or you've been directed by it. So maybe all you do is you go home at night and go, oh, this person's a dickhead, this client is absolute blah, blah, getting angry and worked up and allowing the pressure to just create, to sap your energy, to sap your mental and emotional energy. So think about that for a second. How are you handling the pressure? What are you doing? And all of you guys, now that we're approaching the end of this financial year, make sure that you review your big picture goals, and your goals are your intent. So what are you intending, right? Big picture wise, 10 years, 5 years, 2 years from now, your 90-day plan, your fortnightly, weekly, daily to-do list, and then your intention for the day. What is your intention? Is your intention to look for ways to improve your business and to increase your awareness and to become a better leader and to lean into the pressures? Or are you just complaining and whinging and bitching and moaning? Because we are what we do most. So I heard that this week. Someone said, we are what we do most. So what are you doing most? Are you leaning in? Are you overcoming things? Are you looking for the opportunity in the difficult situations? Or are you just complaining, whinging, blaming, being a victim? All right. Okay, guys, dream team. So all of you are moving towards building a dream team in some form or another, right? So quick question again, just checking in. All right, so you guys need to think about these questions and seriously, and then answer them as well. So what is your biggest challenge in your business right now? I want you to think about that question. What is your biggest challenge in your business right now? And the follow-up question to that is, who can help? Who can help you with that challenge? In fact, who can best help you with that challenge? Dream team. Who's the dream team person? So if you've got financial control issues, bookkeeping issues, it's a Don Doolan thing. If it's a marketing thing, Amanda Cordner. If it's a accounting thing, it's Michael Sutherland. If it's a need a prelim agreement document thing, ask me. I could probably help you with a lot of those different things. Pull out examples that are relevant to you in your area. So I want you to be thinking who, not how. You guys all get that concept. All right, let's talk about setting the standard for your dream team, which is about creating a code of conduct or culture, which is relevant to all of you, but particularly you guys who are looking to set up for succession. All right, so you really want to have a set of values, core values, a code of conduct that serve as rules to define things like professionalism, the team play, how your team interacts, the integrity and the communication, amongst other things as well, right? So just some of the things. So you really want to decide where you're going to set the standard for performance for your team. And again, I was talking about this to Michael this morning. Where do you want to play? Do you want to be a peak performer? Do you want to be just very good? How high do you want to set the bar? And you don't have to carve it in stone now. You could decide, look, I want to go blue ocean. I want to be in the top 10%. And then when you get there, you might go, screw it. I'm going to go top 3%, top 1%. In fact, the best in the world, right? So it could be a gradual process of evolution where you get there. But ultimately with your code, guys, with your code of conduct, the tighter the code, the higher the level of performance. So you've heard me talk about the Bloods culture, which is a famous sports team culture. It's the Sydney Swans, and it's got this reputation that precedes it where it is very tight, and the players literally get rid of players. The leadership team within the player group get rid of players that don't fit the mold. And the All Blacks have a similar thing. All the best teams have it. The Army has a really rigid code of honor, and that's because in a battle situation where bullets are flying around, emotions seem to be very high, and intelligence is low. And that's why their training is so intense, so that they can try and normalize that type of scenario, that absolute mayhem scenario where bullets are flying around and people are dying. basically. That's the reality. People are dying around them. They've got to stay calm as possible. So they have a very rigid code that ensures that individuals do the right thing in order to protect both the team and themselves as well. All right. So the same is true for your company. So the growth and success of your business, or the death of your business, may depend on how you handle the difficult times. Okay. A strong code of conduct will ensure that you get through any turbulence that eventually comes, and you come out the other side. And this is where building resilience. This is why I'm shoving the resilience project down people's throats, because from a leadership perspective, it's going to put you in a good position to handle some of the tough times. But the code of conduct ensures that everyone's on the same page in terms of mission, right? Passion and purpose, where it's all headed. But the code holds everyone accountable to a certain standard. Okay, so when putting your code together, you need to determine the level that you want to play at. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be the best in the world? Do you want to be the best in your city, state, suburb, area? And how does that relate to your niche, your area of specialty? And know that if you get a really tight code, and if you take it up to a certain level, that it's going to bring new people onto your team. It really is going to, and I've seen that happen. I've seen that in action. It's a very powerful thing. So ultimately, your code is going to lend itself to peak performance, consistently high standard of results, but more importantly, it's going to attract the right people, powerful people. Okay, so essentially it's setting up boundaries. And it's exactly the same thing as what you should be doing with your family, with your relationships. If there are no boundaries, there's no structure there for behavior. And it's going to get very messy very quickly. All right, so some of the things, now here's the thing, right? You need to, again, use the ugly stick and face into the uncomfortable conversations that inevitably have to come up. So what are the recurring issues that repeatedly interfere with the performance of the team? So you need to address those. All right. Is there perpetual lateness? So is punctuality an issue? Are people not keeping agreements? Is there finger pointing, gossiping? You need to create rules that deal with those things if those are issues in your team. All right. The keep, stop, start obviously does that to a certain degree, but you're relying on them to bring it up when you ask them what needs to stop question. All right. So you really want to bring them up. You want to identify them. All right. As well as the good behaviors as well. We want to have the good behaviors clearly defined and isolated, but we also need to make sure that you identify the negative behaviors that you want to eliminate. Okay. And so look, here's an example of a code, right? Never abandon a teammate in need. Be willing to call and be called. That's a great one. All right. Celebrate all wins. Be on time. Punctuality. And I'm not being on time here. We've gone overtime, guys. So I'm going to keep going, because if you have to go, I totally understand. You can listen to the recording. Keep agreements and clean up any potential broken agreements as soon as possible. Be responsible. No laying blame on others. No justification. Be resourceful. That's a big one. Using initiative, find solutions before dumping on others. Never let personal stuff get in the way of your mission. Be loyal to your team. Commit to personal development. Constant and never-ending improvement. That's a big one. Don't seek or ask for sympathy or acknowledgement. That's an interesting one. And everyone must sell. Everyone must sell. All right, we're all in sales to some degree or another. All right, so when you do this, when you go through a process of setting up a code, it's really important that everyone participates. All right, you want to make sure that, well, firstly, you want to set up a time when everyone is thinking rationally and there's a nice calm environment. So you don't want to choose a day where people are stressed out, ideally sort of a Friday or Thursday afternoon, whatever it is. get people relaxed, and then make sure everyone participates. So you've got to use the Indian rain stick or whatever it is to draw out the opinions of everyone on the team. What else is there? You want to talk through the various instances of behavior and then also how people felt about them as well, both the positive and the negative. Again, you're addressing the positive and the negative, and you want people to talk about it, bring it out. Find out where your team really feels about certain issues, right? Because if there's unsaid stuff, it's going to get acted out later, and it generally is going to come out, in a more explosive, way through rude comments, bad behavior, and all that sort of thing. So if you can get them to bring it out, right, although it may be a little bit uncomfortable, it's going to be a hell of a lot less uncomfortable than if it comes out later. Then, as soon as you're able to decide on a rule, you write it down. Okay, so you write them down, you want to capture them, you want to be specific, you don't want to have any vague rules. This is different to like a list of values where it's very simple. You want to write out specifics around what it is, and don't try and legislate moods. Okay, you can't have like a rule that says always be in a good mood. Okay, it's unfair and unrealistic. Everyone's going to have a bad day. What you want to rather do is have a rule that says don't take your bad mood out on other people. So don't dump on other people. That's a different way of doing it, right? Make sure the rules are a little out of reach. Okay, it needs to challenge everyone to do better. So that's going to create an environment where everyone gives their best. Team performance, ideally at a dream team championship level. And don't get too carried away with making rules, right? You don't want 1,000 rules. The people are just going to get buried in the rules. Try shoot for maybe 12 or less rules. Okay. Otherwise, the team's going to feel it's micromanaged and legislated. And here's a key one, guys. If someone breaches the code, including yourself, you need to call. You need to call it. Okay. And this is the largest distinction, if you like, between a peak performance team, a dream team, and just being an okay or very good team. Is being able to call each other on a breach of the code. All right, so I'll send out a separate document that'll explain the how to enforce the code. I haven't got time to go through it all now, but that's a very important part of the process. And then just understand, once you've set this up, things potentially will get worse before they get better. So you can expect there's going to be a fallout. There's going to be some pushback once the code's been solidified. People want to know, is it for real? Like a kid pushing back on a teacher or parent once some sort of rules have been put in place. So this is where, you've got to demonstrate leadership, demonstrate that, you mean what you say, and it's easier when you've got passion and purpose for your mission. And that's where, again, Marty's a great example of that, where he's on a mission, he's got passion and purpose for what he's doing, and he's not going to stand for people stepping out of line, and he's doing it in a respectful way as well. So you want to call people on the code, stepping out of the code immediately, and sooner or later they're either going to fall back in line, or you may lose a couple of people, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because if they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit. There's no use having toxic people in your team if they shouldn't be there. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them either. All right, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to include what I've just covered off now in a Word doc that I'll send out with the recording, as well as a separate document on how to enforce the code. Thanks again to those of you who join us live. Alex, I'll be talking to you later. Haley, Louise, have a fantastic weekend, guys. Talk soon.